Hello and welcome to this week's episode of my YouTube channel. This week I wanted to talk a little bit about the pros and cons of buying and renting, kind of discussing the differences and the advantages of buying a house over renting one or renting a property of some sort. So I get asked that sometimes, what are the benefits of purchasing over renting? Quite a few actually. One of the biggest benefits is that you're not making someone else rich, essentially. When you buy a piece of property, you own it. You own the land, you own all of it, it's yours. When you're renting, you're helping make someone else money. If you're renting a house off someone or apartment from a company, you're giving them money, you're not paying yourself. Over time, your property will gain value. It's called equity. You buy a house for $150,000 today. In 5 years' time, it could go all the way up to $200,000 in value, for instance, or that's just an example. It could be any number, but real estate gains value over time. There's been very few cases where real estate loses value. It almost always nets you a positive equity return. And that's money then that you can use on a second house, another house if you move. You can use that money for other things. There's all sorts of things you can do with the equity that you gain from owning a house rather than renting one. In addition to that, rent is usually higher than a mortgage payment. I used to live in an apartment. Periodically I'll check out the rent numbers for the apartment that I used to live in. It's gone up every year. It keeps going up. It's now higher than my mortgage payment is. My mortgage, it goes up a little bit every year because of property taxes, but by and large, it stays relatively the same. Whereas if I had been renting my apartment still, I'd be paying a lot more each year in rent. So that's hard for budgeting then too, right? Because you can kind of expect what your mortgage payment will be for the next 30 years or however long you're in your home. But when it comes to renting, your landlord the property management company, they can raise the rent to whatever they want to each year. Might be a little bit different if you're renting a house. You might have a little bit more leeway there working with just one owner, but apartments, you're paying a lot of money for something that you don't own, whereas buying a house, that's yours, and you can do whatever you want with it. And that's money that you are making for yourself over time. You're paying yourself because you are owning the property and it's gaining value for you. Whereas when you're renting, you're paying someone else and making them rich. There are some cases where maybe it does make sense to rent. Maybe you're in a lot of debt, you don't have a lot of money saved up for a down payment on a house, you're just not ready to buy yet. Or maybe if you're going through bankruptcy or something like that and you're in between homes or in between jobs at the moment, it might make sense to rent short term. In the short term, it might make sense to rent until you can get back on your feet, until you can get your situation resolved. But by and large, owning is much better than renting in the long term. And that's what you should always focus on in the long term, is owning your home rather than renting it. So keep that in mind. If you have any more questions about specifics, please reach out to me or reach out to a mortgage professional. They can educate you on the mortgage process and then how that helps you gain value in your home long term. Hope this was helpful. Until next week, take care. See ya.